PFL Playoffs. And I think I speak for everybody when I say this is the card. If you're going to check out one of the 3 playoff cards, this is the one you need to check out.
Yeah.
Odd that they're putting us on a Wednesday. But you know what? What do you think about the Wednesday action, Dominic? We got Tuesday night fights. What do you think about getting a little Wednesday in there?
You know, we're used to back-to-back Friday, Saturday slate. Now we're getting back-to-back Tuesday, Wednesday slate. And so while I wasn't expecting it on the calendar, it kind of crept up on us. I'm here for a little Wednesday night action in Madison Square Garden for the Puffle.
What?
The PFL. I told him I was going to do that all fair, so I had to do it one
Dominic
time.
has demoted the PFL to the Puffle until they gain back some of their momentum that died with the drug suspensions from earlier this season.
Yeah.
But like I said, 155 and 170. And of course, Dominic, this is the controversial main event. Clay Collard takes on Shane Burgos. We know the story here. For those of you that do not, I will oblige and let you know. So there was a fight between Natan Schultz and Rosh Manfio from the last card that featured these 2 weight classes. Both previous division champions. I believe Natan Schultz was a champion back in 2019, maybe.
Yeah, he was like the OG champ, I think.
And Rosh Manfio, that was a guy that we were our first season watching PFL really bought into. They just so happened to be like the bestest friends in the world. I mean, they are SpongeBob and Patrick, apparently. Manfio, I think one of them is the godfather of the other's kid.
Yeah.
PFL still matches them up against each other. Do we know if they were contesting that? We really not much has came out about the circumstances of that matchup being booked. All I know is what we got was a glorified sparring match, the actual fight. You saw 2 guys who clearly were not trying to hurt each other, who felt like as a viewer that they were sort of forced to fight against what they wanted. Hard to say against their will. I mean, but felt like they were sort of forced into a situation they didn't want to be a part of. Schultz gets the decision win. Terrible fight. I mean, just
not
bad.
good. No.
Bad. Capital BAD.
Exclamation point.
PFL says, we're not going to stand for this, Dominic. They released a statement. I don't even know if it was 24 hours later. I don't even know if Natan Schultz and Rosh Manfio had even exited the shower after their fight yet.
Yeah.
And the PFL is making a statement that Schultz out because he would have been in the playoffs. In steps Shane Burgos, their hot new signing, the former UFC veteran who had lost his debut for the PFL against last season's champion, Olivier Aubin-Mercier. He did win his second fight, but it was a decision win. So based off the point system, he was not going to be in the playoffs. So I believe they deemed that they had not, I forget the verbiage, but it was due to them not fighting to the best of their ability or something like that.
Some lingo. Yeah.
So it was a lot of hibba jibba. Like, what are we doing here? But that caused quite an uproar. People on both sides kind of giving their opinions. Some people feeling like that what we saw, you could call it a glorified sparring match, but in a lot of ways it felt like maybe it felt like perhaps a thrown fight. Like both guys kind of threw it. And then you had people on the other side of the coin, which I think is sort of where we fell in, where it felt like this was a complete breach of, just really a sham, made the whole system feel like a sham. This whole, legitimate playoffs, matchup system, scoring system. It felt like a complete sham to get their big signing into the playoffs. So with all that being said, the fight's pretty exciting on paper.
One would say, yeah.
Do you find it in your heart, Dominic, Shane Burgos is not the guy that we should be mad at here?
Oh no, not his fault. Yeah.
But is there a part of you rooting for Clay Collard to wash away the PFL sins here? Like, or is it better if Shane Burgos wins because then it's like it kind of validates, well, maybe he should have been in there. Like if he comes in here and gets squashed, it's like, well, what the hell?
Yeah.
What's going through your mind with this fight?
First off, I don't know if I could ever verbally say I'm rooting against Shane Burgos. I just love the guy so much.
I
but it's weird because you say maybe it's good that if he wins, it's bad if he loses. But then it's like, so if he loses, then it's ridiculous that he's in because that should have been Schultz won that fight, right? I can't even remember who won the fight. Thank you. If that tells you anything about the fight, then it's like, oh, Schultz would have been in and had a better fight with Clay. Or if Burgos beats Collard, then it's like, oh, this is bullshit because Schultz would have been in there and he would have beat Clay. So there's like no good way to come out of this, I feel like. But on paper, should be a banger. Now, however, Shane Burgos has been wrestling lately. He is a wrestler as of his last fight when he won that decision over Nishikawa. So, take with that what you will, but Clay Collard comes to fight. That's what he fucking does. He's not going to do anything different here. If the Shane Burgos that we saw in the UFC shows up, we're in for a fight of the year type contender here tonight. So I'm excited. I'm pumped. It's weird, though, because part of me is telling myself not to be excited because I was so against this happening. But here we are, and I can't help myself.
We are such hypocrites because we bashed the PFL for this, the Puffle, as you call it. The
Puffle.
And then as soon as we were done shouting from the rooftops about it on our one episode, whatever that was, we never talked about it again. And here we are unabashedly just throwing praise on this fight. Although, mean, to our credit, we're giving a little bit of the backstory here. I mean, I can't deny I think we even said at the time, like, it's a great fight on paper.
Yes.
Like, Shane Burgos, I believe, is one of the 4 most talented lightweights on the roster for PFL. Yeah. I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I just, if you're going to have the system where you're doing points, playoffs, all that, which for one, I'm not even sure if that's going to remain a huge part of the PFL's catalog.
Yeah, come next year.
Once the pay-per-view super fight division starts, and if they potentially purchase a Bellator, we may just see them implement Grand Prix and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
That could have probably saved a lot of headache here. Like, you kind of feel like, why don't the PFL, like, you're getting 2 regular season fights. It sort of feels like you could do some sort of bracket system.
Yeah.
Instead of doing this point system, like, it feels like a bracket system could be implemented. I know that gets a little, because just because you lose doesn't mean you're out. Like, I don't know. It's just the point system feels so weird to me. The PFL does some weird stuff.
Yeah.
They do some stuff I really like.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that they experiment.
Yeah.
The only thing I ask for is, please, by God, give us a decently paced card for once. Because
they're not going to do it. Quit asking.
I just thought of that. I wanted to go deeper on this fight, and I just thought about how the last card. Thankfully, I did not get to watch the last card live. I had to go back and watch it later because holy shit.
26 minutes worth of fights, 3-hour broadcast.
Dominic, it's a Wednesday night. I got to work Thursday. I can't be doing that. I'll never forget. I don't know if I will ever recover from the 2021 championships card like that. I've just. No. I am forever a changed person from watching like 8 hours of PFL title fights. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Anyways, main event. Here's what I like about Clay Collard, because he's very good.
What do you not like?
To fight. Yeah, he comes to scrap. He's a dog. Dominic is still putting up memes where it's like, this guy's got that dog in him.
I had to scroll back far.
I thought that died. I thought that died last year. Dominic's like, fuck it, we keep it alive around here. Never accused the below average Joes of being topical.
Yes.
But with Clay Collard, you can say all that about him. He has all that in him. He has constantly delivered for the PFL. And this is a guy where he was not given. Jesus, that gulp was insane.
Oh man, I thought I was far enough away.
That was an insane gulp right there.
Yeah, I heard that one myself, and I thought that. I'm like, fuck.
Okay. But Clay Collard is a guy who, if you were to give him like a real opportunity in top organizations, I'm not sure if it'd go that well. I know he's got a lot of boxing experience. He's got good boxing. He's got great durability. Got that just quality about him. He's just like the perfect fighter for an organization like the PFL.
Isn't he? Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily like the most well-rounded skill set in the world. Like he definitely impresses at times where it's not just durability and not just boxing, and you kind of go, okay, like he showed a little more wrinkles than maybe we thought. But overall, like if the UFC came and signed him or Bellator, I don't know if he ever actually did he fight in the UFC. I didn't have a chance to look. He had a canceled fight with Devontae Smith. I know that, but not sure if he ever actually got that debut. Regardless, I just don't know if he would ever actually be at the same level he is here with the PFL. And I know the PFL is a tier down in terms of promotions.
Sure.
But it seems like he has maximized his value as an MMA fighter by just being this guy for the PFL. And he's a perennial championship contender. He is yet to actually break through that glass ceiling, but he's number 1 seed this season. He's going up against Burgos, who was not meant to actually be here. And then, we do know there's a tough test that lays ahead, potentially Olivier, Aubin-Mercier, or Bruno Miranda. But I just wanted to give a shout out to Clay Collard because I think that he's that guy that the PFL, I think, they probably don't even really appreciate him as much as they should.
No, they don't. Yeah. He's like a guy that could be the face of their company, but the name's just not there compared to some of the other people.
Do you think he can really be a face of the company? Like, I don't know if he's quite a face. I think he could be like a PFL Donald Cerrone type.
Yeah.
Like, not a guy you could ever actually, like, strap a rocket to and say, like, this is the face. Like, he's never going to – he doesn't have that Sean O'Malley, that Conor McGregor type quality. But I think he's like he's got that fan favorite fight style, and he is going to surprise you at times. And there may be a couple times where even maybe he falls short in the big moments, but he's always going to be a big moment himself. He brings big moments to the PFL.
Yeah, he remains relevant, always a dog in all these fights. You're right. And, if we flip to OAM, the story there, this is a guy that I feel like is still being underappreciated, by the way. He swept again this year. He's 2-0, still never lost in the PFL, is beginning to show finishing prowess last year and in his most recent fight over Anthony Romero with a third-round knockout. That fucking knee to the face was disgusting. For those that haven't seen it, you need to go see it. OAM is still him. He's still that guy. He's still the guy that I favor to win this entire thing. Bruno Miranda's good. Definitely underrated in his own right, going 2-0 this year. But there's something about OAM where he has the grappling and the wrestling to fall back on. But now you see him really completing his game fight by fight here with his striking and his composure and his IQ. He's in his physicality. Like everything about him is top tier, upper echelon stuff in the PFL right now. We've already seen him beat Shane. Him and Clay Collard would be a very fascinating fight, but I'm very much strongly leaning OAM here to go back-to-back, Noah.
I mean, how could you not? The guy's never lost in the PFL.
He's unreal.
He's a guy who probably should have never been cut from the UFC to begin with. I know he had lost a couple fights in a row, but he was still very young. He's still not some old guy. Like he's still it feels like he's in his athletic prime right now.
Yes.
I will admit, I do get a weird sense of spoiler potential here with Bruno Miranda. I do think Bruno Miranda also being undefeated in the PFL. He was the guy that came off the 2022 Challenger Series, and he's gone 2-0. He got a split decision win over Alex Martinez. I don't remember that fight. I probably should have went back and rewatched it to see how I would have scored it. But I'll just say getting a win over Alex Martinez, I think, is definitely a solid win to show that you belong among this kind of echelon in the PFL. It will be an uphill battle for him, but he's a guy with a high finishing capability. Those tend to be guys that struggle against OAM. Like he neuters like the best finishers that the PFL can offer. But 9 wins via KO TKO, 2 submission wins, undefeated in decisions. He's 5-0 in decisions. Like
which is something to, that's something to feel good about against OAM. So
that's very true. So I do think he's definitely a good. I don't know if test is the right word. I don't know if OAM really needs a test in the PFL. I don't think you can really test him, but I'm just saying, like, if OAM is probably going to be a huge favorite. I know we can't bet on it here in Ohio, but if you're in a state who can, I'm not sure if I'm parlaying a minus 350 OAM.
Is there a world where you want to see potentially Shane and OAM for a second time this season, see how it could go differently in a 5-round title fight?
I would be excited for it, but I'm not like I don't need it. I'm not like saying if we get Clay Collard and Bruno Miranda, I'm not like, super disappointed. I mean, I do hope one of the two, OAM or Shane Burgos, I would love to see one of those two competing in the championship. Selfishly, I do kind of want to see OAM go back to the championship because if you're Shane Burgos, if you're Clay Collard, no disrespect to Bruno Miranda, maybe with a win, if he does it in a fashion that he tends to do in his fights, beats OAM, maybe he will get that kind of shine where it's a big deal.
Something. Yeah.
But to me, a Clay Collard or Shane Burgos getting a win over OAM, who was the champion last season, would speak volumes to the parity and obviously the skill level that those guys are fighting at this point.
Well said.
170. How about the 170? Because those are both the 155 matchups. Sadibou C, excuse me. He is trying to go back to back here.
Yep.
He is in the running for Fighter of the Year at the World MMA Awards. So shout out to him for that.
Good for him, man.
He's the only non-UFC representative, and I'll admit, I saw him on there, and I was like, what the? But I'm happy for him because he's been around a long time in the PFL. Finally, had the right path to kind of coast. I don't know if coast is the right word, but he had it easier than most to get the championship win. But that's not to say that he could not have won if it was tougher competition, because he was looking really good last year. And honestly, Dominic, he stepped it up this year.
Yeah,
he's got one of the front runners for KO of the year, that spinning wheel kick or whatever it was he threw. Insane. He's going up against Carlos Leal. I am big Carlos Leal guy. If he's a heavy underdog here, again, I don't know the betting odds, but if Leal is plus money, I would love to jump on it. And that's simply not fading Sadibou C. That's because I think Carlos Leal has been stout competition every fight he's been a part of.
He's a fucking hammer.
Would this be a rematch, though? Is this a rematch from the playoffs last year? Carlos Leal fought.
Did they fight each other?
He did. Yeah, he fought him in the playoffs. And I remember watching that at your grad party. And I thought Carlos Leal had won that fight. I forgot about that. So, Carlos Leal, man, I liked him on the Challenger Series when I, accidentally paid for like 5 months worth of Fubo TV.
Yeah.
He was one of the guys that actually stood out to me on there. And this could be his year to kind of break through. But we're talking about Sadibou C, who's the champion last year, but he's not even the front runner.
Yeah.
It's Magomedkerimov.
Magamillions, as they
call look at this. I have another guy in this fight that I'm invested in. My man Solomon Renfro's here, Dominic.
Yep.
I've never been more upset at Dana for not giving a contract on the Contender Series. And my man Solomon Renfro comes back, fights his way through the regional scene, makes his way to PFL, and he's looked good so far.
He gets in with only one season fight as well.
Exactly. It's just a tough fight. Because he, by the way, was not one of the top 4 finishers. Umelatov had to withdraw from this fight. So we did not get our Magomed v. Magomed matchup. I guess between these two, who are you kind of favoring? Where are you kind of feeling? Because I think this is the most competitive top 4.
Yeah, I think it's the most interesting.
There is the X factor though that Magomedkerimov might just really be that good. But it seems like this is the one where I could kind of buy into any one of these guys being the champion this year.
Yeah, this is also the division with so many different types of storylines that you could grab and run with as a fan. You mentioned Renfro, Carlos Leal looking for redemption, Sadibou looking to go back to back. Magomed has always had the hype around him, and this is his chance here. He's got 2 first-round finishes this year. This is fun. And I feel like going in to the season, I wouldn't have said welterweight is my most anticipated, most excited division.
It was the weakest last season.
Yes, it absolutely was the weakest. And now we're going into the playoffs and championship later this year. This is the most fun, most exciting division with the most interesting matchups. I love it. I lean Magomed. It's hard not to after you see what this guy can do. But Sadibou has really flipped the narrative of his career because he was a guy that was kind of lackluster decisions, just doing enough to win. But now you see that this guy, I mean, he's a great kickboxer. He's always been high level, but he's like added the wrinkle of the finishing prowess, and you see the power and the unorthodox strikes that he can throw. Then you match him up with Carlos Leal, who's a hammer, can finish people in his own right. How can you not be excited for that type of matchup? It's a rematch. I'm leaning Magomed, but my goodness, any of these 4 could take it, and I would not be surprised.
That's a good point. It feels like Magomed could just wipe the floor, and we could be sitting here like, how did we even have this discussion? But I feel like 2 through 4 is very closely competitive. Like there is an X factor. Magomedkerimov could end up being just that damn good, but this is a huge glow up for this division because last season's playoffs was rough. I think Delano Taylor made the championship. He was not someone who was even supposed to be in the playoffs, stepped in and retired Rory McDonald.
Yeah.
And then goes on and loses to Sadibou. So this is a huge redemption for 170. And it should be. It's a good division in MMA. Like it should be.
It is.
Good.
Yeah.
But also to mention Biagio Ali Walsh on this card, getting his next amateur bout, going up against Ed Davis. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the PFL playoffs. If you want more content like this, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We will see you guys in the next one.